So Group D, our first match is going to be between Jangbi and Xellos. Xellos pairing with CJ. Not too bad strats overall. Keep in mind, Xellos is the player who, to my knowledge, helped really advance TVT meta, which you still see nowadays with the whole drop sips with tanks and such. On the other hand, we have Jangbi, our Protoss. Jangbi is pretty well known for his performance towards the end of the Kespa era. So we're talking about the last couple of OSLs, MSLs, etc. But his form does seem to fluctuate over the years. So we'll see what he's able to do against Xellos. Now this group, the other players we have other than Jangbi and Xellos, we do have Firebat Hero as well as Hausen, and we'll see them in match number 2. So starting things off, it's going to be the map Zodiac fighting. So our white Terran at 6 o'clock in the bottom, Xellos. And we have Jangbi, our Protoss on the 3 o'clock position. Now we haven't seen so Zodiac. As mentioned, there are expansions below the 3 o'clock and above the 9 o'clock. And you have the force prime positions, plus you have the expansions right at the bottom of the ramp, and just adjacent to the main you have another position, minerals adjacent to each of the mains basically. So all in all you have about 14 positions where you can expand to, 2 of them being island maps or island positions. We haven't seen a ton of TVP on this map, this MSL. So we'll see what both players would like to do, basically. They require quite a bit of distance to travel from one base to another. Now it's more than likely, so we can see PVT on Zodiac, it's about 8-9, so almost 50%. But keep in mind, this is also the map where Bisu lost against Mind 3-0 in the last finals of the last GomTV MSL, this season 3, with sharp timing attacks. So I mean, it's possible that Xellos would try and do something similar, but we'll see what Jangbi decides to do. But he does seem to be going out for a Nexus first. So I mean, this is not a bad idea, because depending on how our Terran scouts, he might be scouting clockwise, at which point he'll be scanning him last, so he'll have enough time. But we do see gas is coming in, so it's going to be a factory opening. So if a 2 factors coming in or something along those lines, then Jangbi will definitely be in trouble, because his gateway and his tech is going to be a bit delayed. But economy-wise, once things get going, he will be in a great position, in much better position than Xellos would be in. So Propus is out trying to scout the top position and on the left, and looks like it's going to be scouting our turn in the last place. Factory is it's just got started about a fifth of the way through, and the SCV is going out to scout, it looks like. Gas is just also finished for Jangbi or Protoss. And looks like, if you can see, the Nexus is almost done. And yeah, it looks like with the scouting SCV, it's not gonna scout the Nexus in time. It's gonna be done, so by the time our turn gets there, the Nexus is already done and everything. And looks like the core and the second gateway is going up, and this is a great follow-up to a Nexus first. The idea, this is one of the safest options you can have, because if the Terran does scout it and wants to punish it, and they will pretty much try and rush it with a couple of Marines with a Vulture or 2 coming in with some SCVs to get a bunker down, then this will at least allow you to get some units ASAP, or as soon as possible after the Nexus, just to try and defend this aggression basically. But at this point in time, it's highly unlikely that our turn is going to do anything along those lines, and we can see that probes are already mining and Range is researching as well. So Jangbi has gotten away with this. He's gotten away with murder, basically. On the other hand, Xellos is still just making his CC in his base, and he doesn't really know what's going on, and he's actually still only at the top spawn now. So you can see basically the position, the how information is so important in such a matchup. Basically, by the time he gets there, he can't really do anything about the Nexus. Basically, now we do see the more Marines being made. We do see the add-on spinning as well. So we've seen a lot of mine openers during this MSL, so it's more than likely going to be a mine opener. He will scout the Nexus though, so he will at least have an idea of what's going on. If Jangbi managed to deny that, it would have been much better to his favor. So he'll at least know it's easy to move out. I wonder if there is a tank coming in with mine support behind it, basically. And that looks like what it's actually gonna what it's gonna be look like. And we do see a second factor going up, basically. So it looks like he's actually trying to go for the bust, bust on this Nexus. Now this is gonna come down to how well Jangbi can control it. He does have 2 goons. He's probably gonna have at least 2 more out. So you can see there's 4 goons and a Zealot. This should be more than enough to stop what's coming across. So I don't think he's in much trouble, but the question is just how much information does Xellos know about this, basically, because this is more than enough to stop what's coming. Now he does get the and we do see the CCs landed and started marking already. So a bit of pressure. I don't believe observers aren't out yet. Is the robot being built yet? It's about halfway done. So it'll be a bit of time before Jangbi can move out, but at this point in time, he's probably more content just to build up his economy and add on more. So you can see he's going up to 4 gateways, Robo, probably get the observers, and then push at that point potentially, but we'll see what he decides to do. He could also do something like ferrying a probe over to one of the iron bases, or just going reverse straight into observers, or a wide variety of different builds, basically. Now there is quite the mine spread around the map, so if Jangbi does move around, Xellos will know about it. Now is his army done, or is it going to be coming? If it's not, it's going to be coming in soon. Yeah, his army is about halfway done. And looks like his academy as well, so this will give him more information with the comm stat, and it will also help him in case Jangbi decides to do something like a DT follow-up. But he does have, or he did have the racks exploding in the base, and looks like it's pulled back. So there's quite a bit of Dragoons on Jangbi's side. The Observer is out as well. So he's probably going to start moving around, just clearing some of the mines. And we do see the Citadel as well is coming in. And the probe is going out, more than likely to try and take a 3rd base at this point, because he likely knows that the Terran opponent has already taken his expansion, but he will need to get that mine cleared. And he's going to see everything, basically. He's going to see the army probably spinning at this point. I believe it might have been spinning when we saw it earlier on as well. He's going to see the 3rd, likely the 4th fact, but at least our Terran will deny that probe from getting that 3rd base, if it was the plan. So I'm starting to like Xellos' position just a bit more, but Jangbi is still probably in a great position. But there is quite a bit of tanks. That's 5 tanks. There is a Goliath there from what I saw, and looks like he actually sees the observer, so might actually plan to snipe it. Probably a couple more gateways coming in from Jangbi. And we will see a Templar archive soon as well. The Citadel is more than likely just for Zealot speed. But, you know, having Storm as well would be great, especially against a mech army, basically, because of how much Storm does, especially with how slowly tanks will unsiege to move out of range. So 7 tanks. The army is building up quite nicely though for Xellos. Now there will be enough here to repel these vultures, so it won't do much. And it's mostly just seeing the next move for each of these players. Cell speed is done, so that's great. We do see the 6 gates as well, a 7th gate going up. And he does see the probe transfer. But there is a pylon wall there, so there's no concern. There is a cannon. Oh, it's a forge on top. Probably gonna get a cannon ASAP, so that base will be safe so long as he blocks the one entrance. So 5th factory going down. So 7 versus 5, 7 gates versus the 5 facts. And we do see a 3rd base is actually going up for Xellos. And this is one thing about this map that can help Terrans basically, is that as mentioned there is an expansion right adjacent to the main. So if he gets the CC landed, he can get a couple of tanks up and on the high ground, and with a couple of tanks in the back, he can actually protect it pretty well even from his main. So it looks like he's gonna try and take advantage of that, but Jangbi is aware of this, it looks like, or he's at least ready. So he will actually have enough. So if he gets a nice drop on top of these tanks, oh, but there is a Goliath there to deny it. So he does need to spread his units though if he wants to actually try and attack this. But looks like he's actually withdrawn for now, unless he's gonna go from the other side. He might be going up the other. Yeah, as you can see, it looks like his Jangbi is actually going to go up the ramp, but he does need to move the Dragoon, which is blocking all his units. So Mind Drag with the Zealots, and this base might potentially be forfeit depending on how many tanks he brings up, and only 2 is not going to help him out, so he's actually targeting the CC, and he's going to actually just, this could do a lot of damage depending how he drops the Zealots. So there is a mind that if he drops, if this goes off, he's gonna, oh, okay. So just in the nick of time, but that was a fantastic mind drag, and all those tanks are extremely low, and looks like Jangbi is gonna pounce on this opportunity basically. There's only 2 tanks on the high ground, there is 1 at the bottom, but they are all in the red. He's gonna pull back, but he's at least gonna get the high ground tanks basically. And this, he's gonna even get the CC as well. So this is a huge loss for our Terran. Now the Zealots are coming a bit on the later side, and they won't get a tank, but that's 3 tanks in the red. So Jangbi is in a great position right now, especially with a snipe. And he's adding this more gateways now. I would love to see what his upgrades are. I believe his +1 might have just finished, or he's close to being done, because he just recently got the forge. And we do see that that's just cleaning out a couple of the vultures around the map, probably for the potential 4th, and you can see a probe going out as well. So with the map control, Jangbi can now take more and more bases, but there is a couple of vultures racing up to where the probe was and planting some mines. So they are going to snipe it, and Xellos is going to be taking his base again. He's trying to take his a 3rd again. Ooh, okay, that was some nice mine hits, and the vultures survive. Now Zaz does feel in a bit of trouble, which is why he's trying to do it, but there is a beautiful Zel block as well, although there is a cannon up there. So the vultures don't do as much as our Terran would have hoped. So we do see the Stargates up, we do see the Templar Archives, so Storm is researching if it's not already finished. And this base is pretty secure. We don't see any gas yet on it, but now the question is if we are going to be seeing arbiters or carriers. Carriers aren't too bad on this map again, especially with the positions that these players are in, and it's a heavy tank army, so a couple carriers would be great. So with how many tanks there is, this base should be now secure, especially if there's a Terra there just to prevent any drops. We do see the +1 is finished now, and the 4th is going up as well. Now I would love to see Jangbi's base just to see if he's added anything else, if he's added another Stargate if he's just gonna go for arbiters, because that will give us a lot of information. So there is a nice drop on top of the tanks, but yeah, so he gets 2 tanks. Oh, it looks like he's going for another flood as well. So this is not a bad time. If he targets the tank, especially some of them are in the red, he will reset the tank count again. And it looks like Jangbi is going to prevent this base from going up again basically. The tanks are too far back, but there is 8 tanks up there, so I mean it could still be defended. So okay, he has to pull back, he doesn't want to risk it, but if he has another shuttle, there is no terrace up here. A drop will easily have him take down this base. So again, as mentioned, Jangbi is still in a fantastic position. We see the Arbiter Tribunal, so Arbiters are coming in. And the 4th base is going up and will be defended from the Vultures, which are going to be dying to the speed lots, more than likely, unless depending on the focus. So 4 base Protoss versus 3 base Terran. And the tank count has been reset twice now, which spells trouble for our Terran player, and his main is getting mined out. We do see another Stargate, so more than likely just more Arbiters at this point. And we see the High Templars as well, which is Jangbi was extremely well known for his PvT engagements, with how well he was able to spread and get the storm. So we'll see if back in 2008 his control was just as well as it was later on in later years. So the Arbiters are scouted, and they will play a huge role in this next engagement basically. So Jangbi is just building up his army right now. You can see that's a lot of units moving from his base, and he's basically just cleaning up the mines. But he should be careful because that was a huge mine drag that he didn't actually need to cause. But you can see with this tank line, it is quite a bit thin, so Jangbi could technically attack the right side, force the tanks to pull back, and then attack the left side if he wanted to, or you can recall into the main while everything's out of position. We'll see what he plans to do. We do see the Arbiter basically moving towards the Iron Expo, if I'm not mistaken. So 8 fact. I would love to see what the gate count is for Jangbi, just to get an idea of how things are lining up. And the Arbiter is ready just to get the energy for the recall. So you can see he is waiting basically. So he might be attacking one of the positions to force the army, and then he'll do the big recall into the main. And if it gets in and does a lot of damage, and more than likely win if he's out of position, if our turn is out of position, then this will be trouble basically, and Jangbi can win this game. Now he does have a huge army as well. The reverse of that, and he is on 2-2-0, the reverse of this is that the recall gets in but it's defended very well, which will open up a timed attack for Xellos. So he does see a huge amount of tanks that are separated, so he's going to try and bust this position, and we can see the mine drags as well. It's not too bad, but he does lose a lot of Xellos in that push basically, so this is actually, he's losing more than he should at this point, so Jangbi should actually sort of pull back. Now there is quite a bit of Vulture he's going to clean up, and he did do a lot of resetting of the tank count, but this engagement could have gone better if he did a bit of a better spread in with the Xellos early on, because the Xellos bunched up. The 4th is up for our turn, the 5th is up for Jangbi at this point. We see quite a bit of gateways as well. That looks like what, 12 gateways? About 12 gateways, so we do see another 2 Arbiters on top of the one that's waiting. So despite that engagement, which it could have gone better for Jangbi, he's still in a pretty decent position. And looks like our turn is actually aware of the potential for the drop, so he has the Goliaths and the turrets. Oh, no! It doesn't look like he actually manages, so he doesn't manage the recall. He does manage to get a Zealot drop. Oh, and he actually loses the Arbiter as well there as well. So this is actually pretty bad for Jangbi, losing both Arbiters without a recall, and then losing the shuttle with the 4 Zealots in it. But we did see in the FPV that he did add the fleet beacon, so it looks like he's planning to move up, add some carriers. but this is providing obviously a chance for Xellos to get a better holding on his expansions. And looks like Jangbi is gonna try and go for another push. And this is not a good idea, basically. He's gonna move back. An all Dragoon army is not a good idea versus a mostly tank with Vulture army. So you can see there's a lot of blue goo. So Xellos, our turn, is slowly pulling himself back into the game. Looks like he has 2-2 as well, which is pretty fantastic. What's Jangbi's upgrade? Let's hope we get on. So we do see 1-2. Oh, it looks like he even got the +1 for the Arbiter. And looks like, yeah, he's going for a force target carrier, looks like. And this switch, depending on how, if it gets scouted, can really hit Xellos pretty hard. He does have quite a bit of factors for Goliath production, but his focus won't be on that. We do see another recall coming, and this has to make it, and this does actually make it. So the Arbiter is down, but he's gonna end up denying this base, and the turrets are all gonna go down. The SCVs will run away, but losing this CC is a bad idea. But you can see there is gonna be Xellos is going to try and do a big mover at this point, because that was a huge part of the army that basically got caught there. So you can actually potentially do a big push and knock out 3 to 4 bases, 3 bases or 4 bases at once with this push, and that's a huge push coming out basically. So despite destroying that force, Jangbi might actually be in trouble as well, because this is what I was talking about earlier on. If the recall does not do, if the recall gets blocked, or even if it doesn't get blocked in this case, but there is a timing that turn can attack it, and you can see Xellos is quite aware of this. He's gonna stop the 4th, he's gonna stop the 5th. Now Jangbi is going for the counter, he's gonna stop the 3rd, and with that the mine is gonna stop for our Terran. The question is going to become basically what's going to happen, because at this point in time, with this base being denied, the tanks are moving back though, but Jangbi is gonna be down to only a single base mining. Does he know about that? I would not. He should probably not show the carriers at this point because they are dead. But there is quite a bit of tanks, so he should probably pull his Dragoons, or at least target the CC or something to try and see what he can do, because he's gonna lose all these Dragoons. So this is quite an interesting situation. We don't see any Goliath. Does he know about the carriers? That's the question. He's only making vultures, so he doesn't know about the carriers basically. So this is extremely big. He's gonna be losing a lot of these tanks, and as you can see, we have 5 Stargate carrier coming out basically. So that's a huge amount of carriers, and this even though it was probably the right call from our Terran player, this is quite advantageous for Jangbi, because he's just gonna start wailing away at these tanks one by one, and we see he's even taking the Iron expansion basically. He is making Goliath. He's gonna have quite a number of Goliath, but Goliath, Zealot, Goliath, Goon, whatever it is, will be more enough, and he's gonna have another 5 carriers coming up basically. On the other hand, the tank has been reset quite a bit. So in this point, even though Jangbi did lose quite a bit, he is taking another base. He still has 1 base mining, and his carrier count is going to be increasing explosively quite a bit. He's going to have 9 carriers very shortly. So you can see 2, there's another 4, meaning that those carriers are going to start wreaking quite a bit of havoc. So it's what's going to come down to is keep in mind, carriers are slow and they can't just cross them up that easy because it is a big center. Oh, and that's a beautiful tank basically. That's going to keep denying the mining from that base. So at this point in time, Jangbi isn't mining except from the right side, and it looks like the Nexus is being targeted. So the probes are okay to keep mining, but we'll see what these carriers will do. It looks like it's actually targeting the CC. And Jangbi does have some pretty decent carrier micro, so we'll see what he's able to do with this. But as you can see, the Goliath count is extremely low. So I mean, there isn't, from my position, the tank can't really do that much. Basically, he could try and do whatever he can to defend, but there's way too many carriers here. Even if Jangbi was moving these things, they'll probably kill everything. Although at least killing the probes is a nice thing, but keep in mind Jangbi still does have that the island base, and he doesn't really have much defense left. This is a GG. And once the CC goes down, GG. So quite the interesting game. Wasn't really expected, but you can see timings can open up depending on how players use their units. So while that recall from Jangbi did stop the fourth base of our Terran, it did open up a timing for him to also push, and we saw that how just things completely flipped around. But the carriers were a nice idea, and they were scared a little on the later side, especially at that position in the game. And losing all the tanks, which was the backbone of the army, meant that even if he just went Math Goliath, it wouldn't have been enough against, you know, the carriers plus whatever ground army Jang would have had.